Magic Johnson, rest in peace, to the best ball handler I've ever seen in my lifetime, Dwayne Pearl Washington. Mark Jackson, love and respect for Pearl. Facing him made me realize I had to get better.
Dwayne Alonzo Pearl Washington, born January 6, 1964, died April 20th, 2016. Rest in peace. Today's feature was part of the all-famous 1986 NBA draft class that's known for its players not reaching their full potential, mainly because of a problem that tore down communities in the 80s and took so many sports stars from the world too soon: substance abuse. But Pearl Washington, by all accounts, was the polar opposite of the kids looking to experience the wilder side of life or be associated with the cool crowd. In fact, it's something he tried to stay away from. Many refer to him like Clark Kent in a way, in that off the court, he was the quiet, unassuming, sat by himself, preferably kind of guy. Then on the court, like Superman leaving the phone booth, he was a showman like none other at the time. He's known for his crossover move that not many had seen before him, although looking at it now, it may not look that impressive. His ball handling and creativity is something he credited to the competitive world of street ball in New York City, which his name is a legend there as well. He was a star and #1 player leaving high school that moved on to college for 3 years and let his college coach Jim Boeheim tell it he changed the culture for Syracuse and made it officially a place top recruits, especially in-state, wanted to go. He had an outstanding college career, highlighted by his infamous game-winning buzzer beater defeating Boston College January 21st, 1984 of his freshman season. He was next in line of a long list of showmen, particularly with the New York playground pedigree, and by all accounts, thought to be a surefire Hall of Fame point guard one day. He was drafted high in the '86 draft to one of his hometown teams, which came with tons of expectations. His potential was surprisingly cut short, as he only lasted 3 seasons in the NBA for a reason that might just be the first I've heard mentioned publicly. Sadly, Pearl Washington died after complications of cancer stemming from a brain tumor in 2016. To many, he's a legend in the game, celebrated for his innovations he brought on the floor and to a program like Syracuse, so is well respected in the game of basketball. You ask any of those players before he got to the league their expectation of Washington, it'd be nothing short of championships, individual awards, and countless Showtime moments. None of those happened, and here are 3 reasons why. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Pearl Washington was a 6'2" point guard from Brooklyn, New York that actually acquired the name Pearl from the kids on the playground, mocking him for attempting moves as if he was Earl himself. It wouldn't take long for the name to be justified, as Washington quickly made a name for himself as a ball handler you just couldn't stay in front of. He became a star for the Boys and Girls High School, leading to him being the most sought-after recruit that year. Jim Boeheim calls his commitment to Syracuse the turning point for the program that made it a national name. Stunt number 1, 3-point shooting. The three-pointer. To some of us, the three-point shot, when mentioned, comes with the feel of excitement and praise for the extreme difficulty to consistently make one. The one consistency among us all is the normalcy of the shot, although nowadays it's being taken to a whole new height, or should I say, distance. This wasn't the case throughout Pearl Washington's basketball career. That is, until it was too late for him to develop into something more than a disaster from distance. It was not until the 1979-80 NBA season, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's rookie year, where the shot made its debut, with many players not approving of the shot because it felt too much like a gimmicky way the NBA could keep up with leagues like the ABA, adding what they called a home run shot. It was a gimmick, and competition to establish the NBA as the only premier league in the world was stiff. They made a move, and it may have been the best decision made in the last 50 years. The NCAA was a little more reluctant to change and didn't use the three-point line until the fall of 1986. Pearl Washington left for the NBA as a junior months before. Yes, it was ill-timed that a shot that would become so important in the NBA and eventually all over the world wasn't natural for Washington and took some time to not just perfect, but even be confident enough to attempt. We see this today with Ben Simmons, scared to death and scared to look at a three-point shot. Pearl Washington could kind of be seen as the equivalent, although for him he has an excuse, not growing up with the shot's popularity. Either way, Pearl Washington was a star for 3 years at Syracuse, improving his scoring each year and averaging 8 assists as a junior. He was taken 13th overall by the Nets. When you look at the numbers, it seems he found it hard to adjust to the deep ball, rarely even attempting it at .4 over his career and 18%. For a league looking to ride this newfound excitement of a wave, players like Washington could find it difficult to last if they couldn't adjust, and over his 3 years in the league, Pearl didn't, and it became one of the only knocks on his game. Stunt number 2, opportunity. Pearl Washington reminds me of a player I once played with in college named Seth. Seth was for all intents a bench warmer, as they'd probably call him. But the interesting thing was that he should have played. Whenever he did get in the game, he'd light up the scoreboard and the crowd. But because of the upperclassmen and Seth not being a go-get-it personality, he found minutes hard to come by, as coach would, believe it or not, forget he was there. There weren't instances where Pearl Washington was forgotten on the basketball floor, as there weren't many knocks on his game. But during an interview recounting his career, he mentioned 2 reasons why he left the game abruptly after just 3 seasons. One of them was that he wasn't getting the opportunity he felt he deserved, and it made him depressed and anxious, to the point he wasn't familiar with who he was as a player. I think so many players can relate to this, including myself. Being on the bench is something that takes a truly focused personality to play himself back into rotation. Even a player like Washington, who played, but not to the point he became comfortable with the ball in his hands and no pressure of what would happen if he made a mistake. This was the case as while he was a lottery pick and started most of games his rookie season, his shooting was levels behind and his playmaking didn't translate as smooth as expected from college. The Nets also had borderline all-star Ray Williams and Leon Wood that made minutes and the control Pearl Washington needed hard to come by. He averaged 9 points and 4 assists in 22 minutes as a rookie that improved in his second year. At this point, the Nets picked up John Bagley for their starting point guard role, and Washington's minutes lessened. He averaged 9 points at 20 minutes per game, 3 assists, and shot 22% from 3. Stunt number 3, didn't love the game anymore. The biggest stunt in Washington's growth is one that's self-admitted and very tricky to really understand. How can a person getting paid to play a game they loved since a child not be happy? It goes back to a point in a previous Kwame Brown video where understanding each individual's reason for playing is different. Basketball more and more transforms itself every generation into more of a business than anything. You realize this around the time you enroll in college, how much of a product you are and how serious it's taken, that you could lose that love you initially had as the game just isn't familiar to you anymore. Most players are able to adjust to this and thrive in that environment, but a player like Washington, who valued having the ball in his control and leaving his imprint on each game, can get annoyed with so many outside obligations and expectations and just not enjoy playing any longer. Mix that with a person who doesn't view money as the ultimate goal in life, and you'd probably get Pearl Washington. Mentally, he also couldn't deal with fans booing him and shouting derogatories at him, unlike high school and college, he explains. He was picked by the Miami Heat in the 1988 expansion draft and played 54 games before the Heat released him. His numbers across the board were pretty much the same, as minutes were again slim, along with his shooting still not translating. He went on to play in the CBA for a few seasons before retiring from the game. In 2015, he underwent surgery to remove a cancerous brain tumor and passed away less than a year later. He was 52. All in all, Pearl Washington is still a legendary name in basketball for the great things he's done on the playgrounds and at Syracuse. Yes, he could have grew as expected to greater heights within the game, but lived a well-experienced life as a great player that just didn't find the right fit as a pro. Salute to his name. I wish his family nothing but the best. Rest in peace, Pearl Washington.